am Dione Becker, and it's true I'm a lifetime martial artist. What I mean by that is I actually come from a family of martial artists. I was born in Michigan, and I moved to San Diego, California when I was about 4. Started school next to the border in a place called Chula Vista, which is a little bit different than the neighborhood I live in today. And back in the 80s, it was even more different than it is today. And what I mean by that, I was the only little girl who was blonde, fair, blue-eyed, and little, scrawny girl who really, I was trying to make friends, but I was getting, bullied. But we didn't call it bullying back then. There were different terms for it. I was basically just getting, beat up. And the truth of the matter is I had some skills, but I was being followed by, 5 girls at a time. My mother actually did witness me defend myself against 5 people at once. And at that point in time, it was things needed to change. I had one bully who actually, I was telling the panel, used to give me a head start. We'd get off the bus and she'd say, "Okay, start running." And she'd catch me and smack me down and tell me to bring my mother's makeup or jewelry from her stuff, and she wouldn't beat me up the next day as badly. But the truth of the matter is, one day I said to my mom, "I'm not going to school. I'm not going." And she talked to me about it. Well, why? If you get into a fight, you get into a fight. It's not the end of the world. Just make sure you don't start it. Just make sure you defend yourself. These things happen. So really, I'm not going to go. My mother said, "This is just not an option. You have to go, and you have to defend yourself." I have to defend myself. What does that mean? She had a philosophy, and that was I didn't have a choice in defending myself. I went to a public school at the time, and people were going to pick on me, and people were going to threaten me physically, and I needed to stand up to myself, stand up to them with my words, and if it came down to it, with physical defense as well. So she taught me even more moves, and she taught me to use my words. And ultimately, something really amazing happened. I defended myself with my words, and I said to the bully, "I'm not afraid to fight. Let's go. Let's fight." And the bully, this girl picking on me, said, "What?" She didn't want to fight. She didn't want to physically go at it with me. She was afraid. Of course she's afraid of fighting, because she wanted to pick on me. So 99% of the bullying that happens from a kid who's just picking on somebody, but those picking on things turn into really terrible stuff that we've talked about and seen on the news, and these kids feel terrible about themselves because when they feel like they're being picked on, they feel like they can't defend themselves, but it's really about using their words. So here today, my husband and I teach an amazing program that we didn't always teach. We actually fell into it. We started teaching karate, a traditional karate in 2001 in La Jolla. It was Tang Soo Do, where kids stand in a straight line, they bow, they say yes sir, they practice their kicks and their punches. Awesome stuff, really cool. In 2008, Torian Gracie started certifying martial artists like ourselves to teach Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. When we started teaching the program, we didn't see that we would completely change our business model and our philosophy as parents and people. But that's what happened, because the program is amazing, and the program teaches kids, parents, and educators how to handle this bullying solution. They have a solution for everybody, and what they do is just that. They give the kids, we teach them, to stand up to the bully with their words first. They tell adults in a way that is really appropriate, not tattletaling, but saying to a kid, just like a grown-up would, "Listen, you can't bully me. You can't say those words to me. You can't walk by and flick me in the ear. I'm not going to tolerate it." And when that happens, something amazing goes on, because the child is empowered. They're no longer feeling insecure. They can focus on their studies, which they're there to do, and the bully leaves them alone. Typically, the bully's going to go and pick on somebody else, but it's not going to be the child that can defend themselves with their words. They also know that they can defend themselves with the moves that they learn in martial arts as well. So we do non-violent techniques, which is really important because, again, I mentioned that kicking and punching. I did that for many, many years. I'm a 3rd-degree black belt in Tang Soo Do. Love the radical kicks and punches. But what happens, it's really good stuff, but what happens when we use these kicks and these punches on people? Well, for many years, I conditioned myself to break boards. We do that in martial arts. They've seen, hiya, you break the boards, okay. Well, when you do this, what happens when you hit somebody's skull like that? What happens if they hit the ground and they hit the concrete and there's a curb there? Seen it happen. Head, like a watermelon. Kid never come back to school. True story. So I was always very concerned, oh my goodness, we've got these skills, but what if I have to use them to defend myself against somebody? And what if a child does this on the playground? When I started teaching the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu program, it eliminates all of that. They teach distance control, so somebody knows how close they can get to you. Can Devin hit me from here? No. Can Devin hit me from here? Yes. So we teach the kids to understand where the distance where they're going to get hurt is going to be. They back up, they use their words, and should they have to be physical with somebody, they tackle them in a gentle way, they take them to the ground, and they pin them there. And they say, really, we practice this gently all the time. When we practice these moves, we say, practice this like you're trying this with your grandmother, because you don't want to hurt anybody. So when they do this, they pin them to the ground and they negotiate from there. And when you see children learn this, it's an incredible thing. They've got the child pinned and they say, you can't continue to bully me. I'm going to let you up, but first will you promise to be my friend? And the bully is pinned to the ground, trying as hard as they can to get up. But there's a technique to hold them down. And when they can't get up, they say, you know what? This isn't worth it. Yeah, I'll be your friend. And they get up and there's a peaceful departure, and it really does work. And the kids who are picking on that person, they go and they pick on somebody else. And hopefully they will have learned some nobility from what happened from the child defending themselves as well. And we see that happen all the time. I actually, over the decade in teaching, have seen parents come and say, you know what, my child is the bully. Wow, that's unbelievable. You're here to have them learn martial arts and they're a bully? Well, why would you do that? Because they know that the values that we teach once their child learns it is going to change them all around. Where is this bullying coming from? Where are these sources? Once we start talking about it and educating people and saying, hey, this is where it's coming up, and allowing kids to defend themselves. We were speaking about it and just casually this morning, and the thing about it is something happened in public schools in the last couple of decades, and it's called zero tolerance. When there's zero tolerance, it means that if you get into a fight, if you were the person who started it or finished it, you are in trouble. This wasn't always the case. When we were really little kids, the principal pulled us apart and said, who started this? How did this happen? And the person who started it and was picking on the other person was typically the one who got in trouble. But today, if you are caught fighting at all, you're busted. So the kids I have seen are terrified to even defend themselves verbally because they don't want to get in trouble. They just don't want to get expelled. They don't want to get suspended. They don't want to be that kid. And that's a very sad thing, because that's going to create a person who doesn't have the self-confidence to do anything in the world. It's not going to be just standing up to themselves against a bully. It's going to be standing up and speaking about something that's important. It's going to be carrying themselves with confidence, or worse, it's going to be something that's going to damage their ego so badly that things that we've talked about, you've seen in the news, Columbine has been, they said they were bullied. And in the last couple decades, all of the shootings that happen in schools are actually traced to bullying. So really bad things happen if we don't empower our children, educate our educators, educate our parents. Because I came from a neighborhood that wasn't where I live today in La Jolla, I had the feeling that I wouldn't see as much bullying in an affluent territory. I was wrong. As soon as I got into La Jolla, I realized that the bullying there, it might even be much worse. And we have parents who will call moms in complete crisis because their child is saying, I'm not going to school. And in one weekend, this usually happens on a Friday, the kid says, I'm not going, and we will spend the weekend working with the child. And as soon as they come in, they don't believe that they're going to feel like going to school on Monday. But over a short weekend of working with them on these verbal techniques and nonviolent techniques to defend themselves, they go to school with confidence, and they know that it's not a big deal. They're not going to get in trouble. And if they do get in trouble at the school level, their parents are going to back them up. That's really important for parents and educators to start to realize that if the child took the right steps, they told the parent, they told the teacher, they told the right people, hey, this person's picking on me, and now I have to warn them. And so at our academy, you actually see the kids practicing this part of it verbally. It looks like an acting class sometimes, where the children will act out the role. One child will be the bully, the other child will be the one that needs to defend themselves, and the bully will be a really good bad guy for the child, and they'll say some things. We practice with cantaloupe head because we don't think it's okay to call people stupid, but they would say, hey, cantaloupe head, I want your lunch money today. And the other child practices, because if they don't practice getting the words out, they might not come out right. They might come out kind of weak, and the bully will just be looking at them going, what? Or they might come out kind of too strong and too crazy, and then the bully's thinking, oh, wow, they're just out of control. So we teach them to practice it like an adult would say it. I'm not going to tolerate this from you. Go pick on somebody else. And then they say the magic words, the ones that my mom taught me, coincidentally, and it's, are you challenging me to a fight? 99% of the bullies do not want to fight. And so they're going to say, no, I don't want to fight. But the child who is asking them, are you challenging me to a fight, has a specific set of things that they're going to do in their mind if they say yes, which is very rare. And if they do, they know they've got the confidence to deal with it. And that's what it takes to cure a child from being bullied. And they're never going to be bullied after they understand that, because they know that they can defend themselves with their words and with their physical self if they need to. They can do that, and they're not going to hurt the person, they're not going to hurt themselves, and it's not that big of a deal. It just means they've got confidence, and they're going to move on, and they're going to teach other people by leading in this example to do the same thing. So our mission in our school in La Jolla is to get into all the schools that we can. My husband teaches right now in 2 private schools, and not yet is there a school in San Diego that has adopted it into their system. However, in the country, with the Gracies, 50 schools in our country have adopted this in their public school system, and it's taught to the educators, the parents, and the students, and they're rewarded with those wonderful bracelets and with their knowledge as they go through it, and by being leaders in their community. So it really does work. Schools are catching on to it. The Gracies have been doing this for 85 years. They really have a strong hold on it, and obviously when it's backed up by people like Oprah, you understand that it's really got the depths that it needs. And so we can't be happier to be teaching Gracie Jiu-Jitsu today to the youth. And I hope to see it spread and continue. It's in 196 countries today. Our academy in La Jolla happens to be home to more color-belted children than any other certified training center, except for the Gracies in Torrance, California. But we are very proud to say that. Thank you.